Exactly what matters when you're evaluating a prospective rental property? It's a short list, but every single thing matters. I'm Bryan Ellis. I'll tell you the critical factors for evaluating rental property investments right now in episode number 118.
You're listening to Self-Directed Investor Radio, America's only podcast exclusively for affluent, self-directed investors, where each day of the week you receive innovative investment strategy and deadly accurate market analysis that's untainted by Wall Street and unblemished by government propaganda, all in 7 minutes or less. Coming to you now from iTunes, Stitcher, and SDIRadio.com, here's your host, Bryan Ellis.
It's a wonderful day to be alive, isn't it, my friends? It's so amazing to get another great day on God's green earth. Welcome to another exciting edition of the podcast of record for savvy, self-directed investors like you. Today we're talking rental property. It's an important topic because the change in our consumer mentality towards living arrangements has shifted dramatically towards rentals and away from ownership, presenting a great opportunity for you and me. But my friends, please listen very carefully. Rental properties are not inherently a great investment. Sorry, no, it's just not true. They're not all the same. Not all properties are the same. Not all markets are the same. Not all tenants are the same. Not all property managers are the same. These are not commodity products. Repeat after me. Some deals are better than others. Some are far worse. Do only the best ones. But which ones are the best ones? This episode was inspired by a great conversation I had with a new client just yesterday who bought a rental property from us for a very deeply below retail value price on Monday. He since received a solicitation from a turnkey rental company for some other investment properties, and he asked for my help in figuring out whether the properties they offered made sense for him. Jack, it was a pleasure to speak with you. I hope our conversation was helpful. So, my friends, let's you and I talk about what makes for a good rental property investment, shall we? Well, just think like a business person. If you own a rental property, then your product is housing. The fundamental question is, how desirable is your product? It doesn't really matter which property you consider. There's an occupant for it on some level of the scale. On the one end of the scale is the property that has all of the bells and whistles, is in the nicest part of town, and it commands the highest premiums in rent. And on the other end of the scale is a property that's occupied by vagrants and is an eyesore and a physical danger. Where does your property fall on that scale? Being on either end of that spectrum is the wrong place for most investors. You're generally looking for salt-of-the-earth type properties that are, in most markets, in the $50,000 to $150,000 range. So, aside from price range, what are some of the other factors to consider? As always, the criteria to use at the start is the S3 investing criteria of simple, safe, and strong. Let's look at simplicity. Obviously, rental property is a conceptually simple business, so we're good there. But looking deeper, is the specific property simple to deal with? Is the market where it's located strategically wise such that you can make a simple case for why you should invest there? For example, there's a geographic part of the country that we at Self-Directed Investor Network are very excited about. We've done our homework, and this part of the country is absolutely in the path of progress and has, in my humble but astoundingly accurate opinion, a great chance at substantial appreciation in the coming decade. The reasons are simple. It's between two major cities connected by a major highway, and there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that infrastructure is rapidly growing between those two cities, raising demand for property and associated pricing. It's a slam dunk. But the best thing about it is that with a bit of market expertise, one can still buy properties there very inexpensively below appraised value, and these properties are perfect as rentals. So it's a beautiful opportunity. Simple to understand, simple to explain, just simple. By the way, if you'd like more information about this market, hang on a minute and I'll give you that info at the end of the show. Another consideration for simplicity is your choice of property manager. It's basically their job to make it simple for you to benefit from your rental property. Have you taken a moment to talk to a few other clients of the property management firm to find out their experiences? Particularly if you're buying a rental property from a turnkey company who provides a property manager along with the property when you buy, you need to be particularly diligent. A few turnkey companies do a great job of vetting the property managers they recommend, but most do not. It's your job to make sure, because at the end of the day, it's your money and your sanity that's on the line. Another element of simplicity is the regulatory environment. Yes, it's your property manager's job to handle most of the regulatory issues on your behalf, but your property manager is definitely subject to the constraints of law. For example, is it simple or difficult to raise rental rates? Are you required to provide inspection reports to the government? Is it simple or difficult, in other words, quick or slow, to evict a bad tenant? Even if you have the greatest property manager in the world, they can do nothing about an unfavorable regulatory environment. So, for example, some markets that offer strong favorability towards landlords are Arizona, Georgia, Texas, and Indiana. But New York, California, Washington, and Connecticut are states that can represent serious expenses, challenges, and delays for rental property owners. Remember that delays mean extended periods where you don't collect rent. During these times, your rental property becomes a liability rather than an asset. So it's critical to pick markets that are favorable and simple for rental property investors. And one other quick note about this issue. The regulatory or political environment can vary dramatically from one city to the next within the same state. For example, San Francisco is notoriously challenging as an environment for landlords, even more than most of the rest of the cities in California. So look at this issue from both a statewide and a city perspective. One other note about simplicity. Exactly how simple is it to find tenants in the market you're considering? This is one of the big issues with buying a rental property that already has a tenant living in it, such as with turnkey rental property companies. You simply don't know how long it took them to find that tenant. A long search suggests that either there's just not much demand or that you've got a poor property manager. Both are warning signs. So ask your potential property manager to give you specific stats about how long it takes their firm to fill a vacant rental generally and whether they have other rentals in the same area. If they do have other rentals in the same area, that's a good sign, and it's a good source for information about exactly how simple it has been historically to find good tenants. And while we're at it, my friends, a good way to evaluate property management companies is to get a report from the local county courthouse for how many evictions have been filed by your prospective property manager. Then find out how many properties are being managed by that firm. If the number of evictions filed in the past 12 to 24 months by that property manager versus the number of properties they're managing seems like a high ratio to you, that's probably a sign that the property manager is really good at finding tenants, but not good at choosing the best ones. So today we've covered how to evaluate whether owning a particular rental property is going to be sufficiently simple to be a wise investment for you. There's more to the mix though, folks. There's also safe and strong. We'll get to those tomorrow. Now, I do want to tell you that we've got some amazing rental property investment opportunities coming up right away that many of you will want to consider. But you'll definitely have to act quickly, as the properties we offer are always priced so attractively that they sell quickly. The latest example is I made one property available this past Thursday afternoon, and it was taken by Thursday evening. And if the notion of building wealth through rental properties that are priced way below market price appeals to you, then I'd recommend you set aside some time to join me for a very special webinar that's coming up where I'll introduce you to some great properties and some great markets that we've pre-vetted for you to confirm that they fully comply with the S3 investment criteria of simple, safe, and strong. To get an invitation to that webinar, you must be part of my Top Picks group. The only way to get in that group is to text the word Top Picks. That's one word with no spaces, spelled TOPPICKS. Text Top Picks to 33444. Again, text Top Picks to 33444 to get on the Top Picks list and receive an invitation for the upcoming webinar where you'll learn all about how to get access to pre-vetted rental property investment opportunities that absolutely measure up to the simple, safe, and strong criteria that must be the core of your evaluation process. More about how to recognize great rental opportunities in tomorrow's episode. Until then, my friends, remember this: invest wisely today and live well forever.
Thank you for listening to Self-Directed Investor Radio with Bryan Ellis. Don't miss a single episode. Be sure to subscribe to Self-Directed Investor Radio right now on iTunes, on Stitcher, and at SDIRadio.com. Your feedback is always welcomed via email at feedback@SDIRadio.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended as legal or professional advice for your situation. Content is the property of the Self-Directed Investor Society.